Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining this live event focusing on interactive dashboard with Business Central. Naval Komasbe will be going through the following: custom view for analysis, copy views and queue features, user profile management, view assignment, the flexibility of query criteria, traffic light indicators, and email notification. And later, it will be demonstrating the tools for you. If you have any questions in the meantime, please do not hesitate to complete the question and answer section, and we will answer your queries at the end of the webinar. I will now hand you over to Naval for his insights.
Thank you, Bisola. Hi, audience. Greetings for the day. Hope you are all fine. I am Naval Kosambe. I work as a principal consultant at Mercurius IT, and I'll be walking you through to our add-on, which is known as the Inside Hub. We all know that in our business, we have very specific requirement of having a dashboard, as we all know that visuals speak more than the words. And the dashboard serves the same purpose in the business, wherein the user who is using the software or Business Central in this case would be more comfortable looking at the visual representation of the data and thus increase the productivity of it. For that, Business Central has something called as queues. But the major shortcoming of the queues is that it cannot be developed or created or configured by the user himself or herself. The user must rely on the services of their partners. This led us to think that why not create a solution wherein the partner intervention of developing the dashboard is minimized, and that's how the Insight Hub was born. Following are the features of the Insight Hub. It is easily configurable. We can customize the views as per the business analytics. We have the flexibility of copying the views and the queues. We have the facility of view assignments. We have the flexibility of having query criterias. And then we have two of our USPs, which are the traffic light indicators and the email notification. So I'll be walking you through all these features in this presentation. So when I say it is configurable, this means that this tool Insight Hub is developed in such a way that it can be used both by the functional consultants as well as the IT admins or the technical consultants. So when I say it is designed for functional consultants is because the functional consultants know from where the data has to be brought in from the system. And the role of technical consultant or an IT admin would come into picture on how and from which page or from which table it has to be taken into consideration. So that's the way we are going to configure our tool. So if you see in this slide, you'll find that there is a snapshot of how the tool looks like. It is quite similar to how the queues are there in the Business Central. But yes, this tool is having far more flexibility than the queues. Each aspect of the queue can be configured from the system. There is no requirement of any technical intervention at all. Now on the screen, you'll see that there is this view selection list. So this list outlays that what views is a particular user going to see, or can a user be configured to see. So if you see here on the slide, you'll find that the user ID, which is my user ID, of course, is configured to view the sales dashboard, the journal dashboard, and the order processing dashboard. So this is how we can have maximum of 8 views which can be assigned to a particular user. And obviously there is this action which is called as the subscribe user. So from here you can subscribe to the same views for another users rather than typing in the username and then selecting the concerned views. Now I am magnifying more into the views. So let's say sales dashboard is a view. So how the sales dashboard is configured. So the sales dashboard has its own unique code, which is an identifier, the description of that dashboard. And then if you see at the lower end, you'll find we have sequences. So this sequence are nothing but the queues which we are going to have in that particular view. So let's suppose if this view is of sales dashboard, so any and everything which relates to sales can be configured in the form of queues in this particular view. So I have configured it for sales orders, sales invoices, sales credit memo, sales written orders, and customers. Then there is another aspect of this in the queue property. If you drill down in the queue property, you'll find the queue property would be having a few more parameters to it, like what happens or what behavior would that particular queue do when it is clicked by a user on the dashboard. So here we select the table, we then select the table ID, and as we all know that we also have formulas for count, for sum. So here we can define the calculation. I have defined count as the calculation formula. I am going to count the number of sales orders, and I'm going to give the table filters to it. So the table filters can be varied table filters. And in the table filter, we can also have something called as the okay. So now the compact numbers. So what is compact numbers? Let's say if on the queue, if we want to display some amount which can go beyond millions or which may be coming into billions. So here we can define the multiplier, we can define the roundings, and we can define the prefix or the suffix. Because if you see for the transactions which are taking place in dollars or in pounds, the symbol of the currency is as the prefix. So you can add the symbol here, and when the Q is displayed, it would display the currency with along with the currency symbol. So this is how the dashboard looks like. So for the sales dashboard, we are having three of the dashboards seen over here, queues seen over here. One is the sales orders, sales invoices, and sales credit memos. So likewise, you can have many more. So there is this restriction of the views which can be assigned to a user, but there is no restrictions of assigning a queue to a particular view. Now we have something called as a smart filter criteria. So what's smart filter? Let's say we have a predefined requirement wherein we have to have some data which has to be filtered based on certain dates or based on certain user. So all this are something called as predefined filters. So those predefined filters here in the Insight Hub are termed as smart filters. If you see on the slide, you'll find we have already a few of the smart filters defined, like the current month, current week, current year, my salesperson, my users, next month, next week, previous week, etc. The thing to notice that if you are having a date filter or a month filter, you can define the start and the end date by having semicolon separated values to it. So this is just an example how a particular smart filter, when it is assigned to a particular queue, would look like. So we have assigned a document type as order and a due date is yesterday. And if we zoom that particular page, we'll see the document type and the due date for it. We also have a feature of copying views. Now imagine a scenario wherein there would be a requirement of configuring views for at least 10 people. Out of those 10 people, there would be a requirement that five or four of them would be having common views assigned. So this copy views functionality comes in handy. We just need to define the new view code and a new description of that particular view code and select the view. So as for example, I'm going to create another view which is based on sales dashboard, which serves as a template. And when I click on OK, the view would get created for me. Thus, again, it saves time for us. Similar to copy views, we have a feature called as copy queues. It works in the similar manner. If a particular view has something which needs to be common for few users, then we can readily use the copy queue functionality and copy the corresponding queues. Now view assignment. As shown in the previous slide, we can have n number of users defined over here, and there can be 8 views which can be assigned to a particular user. I'm again reiterating that this 8 is limitation of view, but there is no limitation of anything on the queues. Queues can be n number of queues defined for a particular view. So sales dashboard can have n number of views. View 2 code like journal dashboard can have n number of views. We can easily add and remove the views from, we can remove it from the queue section if we want. Like if some certain queues are not required, then we can readily go into the configuration and we can remove those. This is how the home screen would look like. You'll see there is this inside hub dashboard, which has been there on the screen at the lower end. You'll find sales dashboard, journal dashboard, and order processing. Traffic lights. So why traffic lights? First of all, what's the need for traffic lights? Now imagine a scenario wherein a sales dashboard, a sales user is having to look for any sales orders which are, beyond certain date. Let's say it should not be like the outstanding order should not be, beyond 7th of Feb. So how would the user come to know that there are a few orders which are still outstanding? So for that, we have what is called as a traffic light. Traffic light would serve as an indicator to the user that this particular criteria is not met, and hence the color of that queue would change as per the color which has been configured in the setup. So this way, the user would be able to understand visually what area he has to look into or how it has to be catered to. So in this figure, you'll find that there is a boolean called as traffic light on a queue. So the moment when we enable this boolean on a particular queue, we have to configure the conditions, the preconditions for this particular traffic light to work. So once we click on the boolean, we'll go and click on configure traffic lights, which is there in the second figure. And I'm going to demonstrate this as well. So don't worry. So when we click on the configure traffic lights, we'll be presented with the screen which is having the columns like operator, value 1, value 2, and the color. And there is another boolean called as notify me. So here the user can configure the preconditions when the particular queue can change the color to notify them about certain activities which have to be alarmed about. So here the operator are having 3 values. One is less than, one is greater than, and there is one between. So The user can configure the conditions based on these three operators. Now let's say if the user selects less than, then if he enters the value in value 1, then value 2 he or she cannot enter the value in value 2. And if he or she enters the value in value 2, value 1 would be disabled. Likewise. Similarly, the same case will be with the greater than as well, greater than operator as well. Then we have color. Here we have already defined a few colors in the system. So the user just needs to select a color of his or her choice, which would make that queue identifiable when this particular condition is hit. So this is for the traffic light, and we have what is called as notify me. So what does notify me do? Notify me is a feature which would send an email notification to the concerned user when this particular condition is true. So this way, the user would be having a visual representation of the notification as well as an email notification for the same. So here I just pointed it out to notify me. Now I'm going to demonstrate this tool to you. I already pre-configured a few dashboards. If you see here, we have item and stock dashboard. We have order processing, which is actually a purchase order processing dashboard, and a journal dashboard. Now, what you see here as a line is a UI. So whenever there is some value to it, this would turn red, indicating that there are some certain things there, or there is some value to it. If there is no there is a zero value to a particular queue, then this would be white and not red. So it's a UI stuff. Now if you see here, when I right click on this particular dashboard, I'll be presented with the options wherein I can select, I can check for the views, I can see the view selection and the setup. So if I go to the setup, you'll see that you can set all the required parameters for this particular dashboard to function. And these are all default values which you can configure. So when you install the application, this will be pre-configured for you. And the notification, the email notification, which I just talked about in the previous slide. Here you can define your notification body for all the three operators: the between operator, the greater than operator, and the less than operator, and the subject line of your choice. Now I'll be going into the view. So I am now in the item stock view. If I click on the journal dashboard, I'll be in the journal dashboard view. So this option functions differently for all the different views in question. As I showed you, if I go to item stock, I can define the property over here that if I have a queue called as items, how should it behave? So I when I create a queue, I go to the queue property and then I select the required object type, like it's table, the table ID, and the formula, which is sum and count for me currently. Then we have a boolean called as reverse sign. So sometimes what happens is that there are values which go into negative. So and if we are not comfortable showing it as a negative value, we can just click on this boolean reverse sign and the value would be shown in positive. Here we can define the page ID and we can define the table filter. So let's say if I want to filter the data based on assembly bomb. So I can go here in the assembly BOM. I can select the criteria. This is the filter. Now, the other filter criteria was the smart filter. So if you want to have the predefined filters or a presets of filters, you can go to filter, go to smart filters, and you can select any of the smart filter defined. So this would filter your data as per the filter criteria given here. You can create your own smart filters as well to be used. These are the multiplier, the compact numbers to show the value if it is in currencies or which are going beyond millions and billions. So you can define the multiplier here, the rounding, the prefix of the currency. You can have the GBP or a dollar or a suffix for INR or etc. Whatever it is. Here you can define the color of your queue. There are presets of color which have been already fed into the system and which would by default come into the system. You can define the font color, you can define the background color, you can define the font size. You can define the font size, the top font size, the bottom font size. You can also add the images. You can have the width of the queue and the height of the queue as well. And on the traffic light, I'll be now going to the traffic light. I haven't configured a traffic light for transfer order. If you see here on the transfer order, this traffic light boolean is been checked. And I have configured the traffic light here. I'll just select this record. I'll go to manage to configure traffic lights. I have just given a precondition that if the it is less than 5, then the color should turn to red. Here again, we can change the color to red. So there are different shades of red. Cadmium red. Now let's say a color cadmium red. And if I come out, the color would change. The color changes automatically. And we have what is called as the view selection. So the view selection here, you can select views for different users. So currently it has been configured for me as well as one of my colleague. And we have pre-configured number of views here. If you see here, we have pre-configured number of views which you can create or which can be created from the views itself. Let's say if you want to replicate this, for example, I'm just going to replicate order processing. I'm going here, select from view, edit. I'm going to say copy view. I'm just going to select the order processing view from here and say OK. The view was copied successfully. If I come out, you'll find that a new view has been created. I can assign this view to the user. So that's about it from my end. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Naval, for all that. Yes, I have 3 questions for you. And
Okay.
number one is, can we add custom date filter for the queues? E.g., if they said, I want to see the order due to ship this week.
Yes, for this filter, we can use the concept of smart filters, which are demonstrated previously. So any filtering criteria can be configured in the smart filters and those can be used.
Excellent. Also, there's another question here. It says, can I add filters to orders assigned to me?
Yes, for that, you'll have to create a smart filter with the user ID and you can assign it to the particular to the order, and that user ID would be filtered, or the orders for that user ID would be filtered and can be shown.
Brilliant. And final question I have here is, can I copy specific cues from another person's view?
Yes, it is possible by the way of the copy queue functionality.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's all the question I have. If anyone has any more questions, you can either ask it now, or you can email us at info@mercuriusit.com, and I'm sure Naval will be able to answer your question then as a reply email. If you also so thank you for attending. And if you need to look at any other of our webinars in the past, please visit our website, and via our YouTube page, you can view all of our webinars on there. We have a library of webinars waiting for you. So thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.